Oh please, she laughed from the hallway. She still lives in that room? With that broken dresser and those ancient curtains? I'm telling you, even the maid's quarters at my uncle's house were bigger. Then came the scoff. Honestly, my brother's wife added, some people never grow out of being less. That word, less. It slid under my door and stabbed me in the gut like a quiet insult dressed in velvet. But I didn't open the door. I didn't even blink. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, hearing their muffled footsteps walk away. The kind of silence that wraps around you when you're used to being overlooked. Hi everyone. My name is Ray. And if you think you know how this story ends, stay with me. Because it doesn't end with yelling. Or throwing wine at someone's face. It ends in a kind of silence that destroys louder than any scream ever could. Let me tell you what happened. It started when I came back home after Dad's funeral. Not home in the emotional sense. Just the place where I grew up. They'd already moved into the main house. My brother and his wife, Claire, took over Dad's master bedroom. Painted the walls. Replaced his photos with theirs. Even had the audacity to repurpose Dad's library into their gym. I didn't say anything. They let me keep my old room in the back. You know, the less room. Dad hadn't left a will. Or so they claimed. Said the lawyer came up empty. Said there was nothing official. I nodded. Quietly. Even though I knew something they didn't. Because 3 days before Dad died he'd slipped a small iron key into my palm. No words. Just his eyes, a single nod and that key. And last night I finally used it. Behind the old wall panel in my closet, just where he told me to look when the time came, was a dusty brown safe and inside, 2 envelopes. One marked, Will. The other, Claire. I froze. I hadn't planned what to do next. But fate. Fate gave me something better than planning. Because tonight I pretended to sleep. And Claire? She crept in. Opened my cupboard. Her perfume lingering in the dark. Then she saw the envelope with her name. Her hands trembled. And the moment she opened it, she gasped. Something had shattered inside her. And that was just the beginning. She staggered back, clutching the envelope like it burned. I kept my eyes closed. Her breath caught, sharp and panicked, and I heard the soft thud of her knees hitting the floor. Papers rustled. The contents of the envelope spilled across my carpet like broken secrets. Then, silence. But not the calm kind. The kind where truth hangs in the air like smoke. I waited. Still pretending to sleep. My body stiff with tension, my mind racing. Claire didn't speak. Didn't move. But I could feel it, the moment she started crying. Soft, breathless sobs. The kind you try to swallow but can't. The kind you cry when your entire foundation crumbles. And no one's coming to help. She finally stood up. I heard the envelope slip back into the drawer, not neatly. Just shoved. And then, barefoot and shaking, she tiptoed out. I waited another 2 minutes. Then got up. The drawer was slightly ajar. The envelope? Still there. I didn't need to open it. I already knew what it said. I'd read it the moment I found it. Dad wrote it with the kind of precision that left no room for confusion. Claire, I've watched you manipulate, control, and humiliate this family. You married my son for wealth, not love. And while I stayed silent for his sake, I won't reward cruelty. I saw what you did to Ray. I saw everything. Enclosed is the truth, the deed transfer, the trust statements, and the clause that will undo every lie you've spun. You wanted this house. You just lost it. And Adkins. I stared at the letter again and something in me steadied. I didn't write it. But it felt like the first time in years someone truly saw me. The next morning Claire avoided me. Her smile was brittle. Her eyes red. She burned the eggs. Dropped the orange juice. And when my brother walked in, cheerful and clueless, she practically begged him to take her out for a drive. He didn't notice. But I did. She couldn't look at me. She knew what was coming. But the will? That was still untouched. I hadn't opened that envelope yet. But his timing is everything. And I was waiting for the right moment. A moment when not just Claire, but my brother, my entire family, would hear the truth. All at once. The kind of truth that cracks through polished smiles like thunder. The kind you never forget. The next 3 days felt like living inside a ticking clock. Claire barely spoke to me. Every time she passed me in the hallway, her hand brushed her collarbone, like she was trying to calm her own heartbeat. I'd catch her glancing at my door when she thought I wasn't looking. He even checked my closet once more. But the letter hadn't moved. That envelope with her name stayed right there, taunting her. I wanted her to stew in it, to feel every inch of the dread she used to wrap around me like rope. As I remembered the time she accidentally spilled red wine on my graduation dress, minutes before the ceremony. I remembered how she convinced my brother to turn Dad's art studio into a nursery, even though she miscarried years ago and never planned to try again. I remembered how she whispered things about me at dinner parties. She's just sensitive. You know how Ray is. I remember everything. But I never fought back. Till now. Because now I had the will. And what's inside it could end the show she's been starring in for years. That night I opened the second envelope. My hands shook. Not because I was scared, but because I could finally breathe. Inside were 5 pages. Handwritten. Signed and notarized. Dad had left me the house. The land. His accounts. And even his paintings, the ones Claire once called ugly charity art. My brother, he got something too. But it was different. To my son Michael, I love you. But I can't reward your blindness. If you ever want your share, you'll need to sit with Ray. Truly listen. She's not the leftover, she's the legacy. I cried. Not loud. Just quietly. Like all the years I stayed silent had finally been heard. And then I made my decision. I wouldn't hide this. Wouldn't sneak or whisper or slowly drip truth like poison. No. I was going to reveal everything. At once. In front of them. On a Sunday. Just like the ones we used to have when Dad was alive. Pancakes, soft jazz, and fake laughter. Only this time, it wouldn't end in smiles. It would end in silence. The kind that speaks volumes. The invitation was casual. Sunday breakfast, I said as I poured coffee for Michael. I thought we could start a little tradition again. Like Dad used to. He smiled. Claire didn't. She froze mid-sip, her eyes flickering toward the hallway, toward my room. But I didn't blink. I smiled gently, like the world hadn't shifted under her feet. Just us 3, I added. A small one. For Dad. Michael agreed instantly. Claire forced a nod. And just like that, the stage was set. That Sunday morning, the sun was warm, soft light bleeding through the kitchen curtains. I made his favorite, banana pancakes with cinnamon. Claire showed up last, wearing pearls too early in the morning and that nervous lipstick smile. The envelope sat at the edge of the table. Not hidden. Not announced. Just there. Claire's eyes locked onto it the moment she walked in. Michael didn't notice. We ate. Well, he did. He rambled about work, about how he might get a promotion, about possibly converting the upstairs library into a media room. Claire didn't touch her food. I watched her hands. They trembled slightly, her fork clinking against the plate like it couldn't stay steady. And then I placed the second envelope down. The one that said, Will. Michael glanced at it. What's that? I tilted my head. Soft smile. It's from Dad, I said. The real one. I found it. Claire inhaled. Sharp, involuntary. Her knuckles turned white. Michael looked between us. I thought there wasn't one, he said. I opened the envelope. Fully. The sound of paper sliding out felt like thunder in the quiet. I thought so too, I whispered. But Dad left it for me. Hidden. With a key. I handed him the pages. He began reading. His lips moved silently. Then his face changed, confused then stunned. So, he looked up at me blinking. You get the house. Claire stood. Chair scraping back. No, this isn't right, she said, voice thin and rising. This can't be real. It's notarized, I said calmly. And dated. 3 days before he passed. She looked at Michael pleading. But he just held the paper. And asked the question I was waiting for. What does mine say? And so I read it to him. Word for word. The line that broke the room. She's not the leftover, she's the legacy. Michael just sat there. His fork still in his hand. Pancake half chewed. Eyes darting across the page like he was hoping the ink would rearrange itself. Claire whispered, say something. But he didn't. So she did. She manipulated him, she snapped. Ray always wanted to be the favorite. She probably forged it, or coerced him when he was weak. I stood up. Quietly. No yelling. No cursing. Just a gentle reach toward the drawer beside me. And from it I pulled the other envelope. The one with her name on it. I placed it on the table between them like a stone dropped in still water. Claire, I said calmly, this one's for you. You already opened it. But maybe now Michael should read it too. Her face went pale. No, she said, voice trembling. That was private. You can't. Michael picked it up. He read it. He didn't get halfway through before looking up at her, eyes wide, hurt blooming in his chest like smoke rising too fast. You lied to me. Michael, she choked. I was trying to protect us. He misunderstood. He saw you, I said softly. He watched. He knew everything you were doing. And he still let you stay. Michael's hands clenched the letter, then loosened, like he was gripping a past he didn't want to claim. He said I had to sit with you, he muttered. To understand. Ray. His voice cracked. I didn't know. I should have been angry. I should have screamed at him for all the years he stood beside her and never once saw me. But instead I just looked at him. Eyes steady. Come. How you do. Claire stood. I'm not going to sit here and be ambushed by a... You already sat, I said. You just didn't know it was your last meal in this house. Her lips parted. What? I turned to Michael. Dad left me everything. But I'm not throwing you out. I'm offering you a choice. He blinked. What choice? I looked straight at Claire. You can stay here with me, or you can leave with her. The room went dead silent. Even the walls seemed to hold their breath. But this time, I was the one holding the power. Claire stared at him like her entire future depended on his next breath. Maybe it did. As Michael, my brother, just sat there. So silent. Like a man realizing the floor beneath him was never solid. His voice when it came was barely more than a whisper. Did you ever love me, Claire? She flinched. What kind of question is that? She said too fast. I married you. You married my name. My house. My father's estate. I could have looked away. But I didn't. I watched her unravel thread by thread. Because when someone builds their life on lies, the truth doesn't destroy them. It exposes them. You always said Ray was dramatic, he continued. Always said she was bitter, jealous. She is. Look at this. Claire waved her hand at the letters. She's orchestrated some kind of revenge fantasy. No, Michael said, rising slowly. This isn't revenge. This is clarity. And maybe I should have looked for it sooner. His hands trembled as he placed both envelopes back on the table. You need to leave. Claire's head jerked up. What? He didn't yell. He didn't flinch. You need to leave this house. Her voice cracked. Michael, please. She reached for his hand. He stepped back. And for the first time in my life I watched my brother see me, not as the fragile shadow in the corner, but as the woman standing in the center of the storm, calm and unbroken. He turned to me. Can we talk? He asked quietly. I nodded. Later. Claire's eyes darted between us like a woman trapped between two cliffs. She whispered one last thing. She's dividing us. I walked to the front door and opened it wide. You did that the day you called me less. She didn't argue. She just walked out, the pearls around her neck catching the morning light like broken promises. The door closed behind her. And in that stillness I realized. This wasn't just about inheritance. It was about identity. About being erased then remembered. And now finally, reclaimed. We didn't speak right away. Michael stood by the window, arms crossed, eyes following the empty driveway where Claire's car used to be. The silence wasn't awkward. It was heavy. Like both of us were standing in the wreckage of something we hadn't fully understood until it was gone. She told me you resented her, he finally said. She said you were always trying to compete. I nodded once. She needed me to be the villain so she could feel like the prize. He turned slowly, his eyes softer now but guarded. Why didn't you ever tell me? I met his gaze. I tried. You weren't listening. He flinched. The kind of guilt you can't scrub off. We moved into Dad's study, the room Claire once wanted to turn into a yoga studio. I handed him the last file. One Dad never mailed, never spoke about, but kept quietly. A letter addressed to Michael. Inside, a single paragraph that must have felt like truth pressing on a bruise. You will never see the whole picture if you only trust the brushstrokes she paints for you. Ray was the child who held my hand in silence. You were the son who left too early to hear what silence held. He read it twice. Then he sat down. Hard. I thought I was doing the right thing, he said. Marrying someone strong. Building something faster. You were building on sand, I replied quietly. He looked up. Tears in his eyes, not loud ones. Just the kind men shed when it's too late to undo things, but not too late to learn from them. I want to stay, he whispered. I didn't say yes right away. Because forgiveness isn't something you give in a breath. It's something earned, over time through presence, not promises. So I said the only thing I could. Then help me fix this house. And he did. That week we boxed up Claire's things. Quietly. No fire, no spectacle. He took down her framed wedding photo from Dad's mantel and replaced it with an old black and white of the three of us. Back when we used to laugh without watching each other for weakness. As we worked, he asked questions. About me. About Dad. About the days he'd missed while chasing someone else's idea of success. And for the first time in years, I let him in. Because sometimes revenge isn't about fire. It's about making space for light. A month passed. The house was quieter now. Not the eerie kind of quiet, but the kind where peace hums in the floorboards and every corner feels like it remembers how to exhale. Michael started cooking on Sundays. Not well, his pancakes were always slightly burnt, but it was the effort that mattered. He'd play Dad's old jazz CDs, hum along awkwardly, and ask me about the past like it was a puzzle he was finally willing to put together. And I was healing. Some wounds don't close all at once. But day by day silence stopped feeling like punishment. Then one afternoon a letter arrived. No return address. Just her handwriting on the front. Claire. I almost didn't open it. But curiosity, that old traitor one. Inside was a single sheet. I didn't know he was watching. I thought your silence meant weakness. I see now, it meant strength. I hated you because you didn't need attention to be powerful. I needed a stage. You only needed the truth. I'm starting over. I won't ask for forgiveness. But I'll never forget the look in your eyes the day you opened that door. You didn't raise your voice. You raised the standard. No apology. But somehow it was better than one. Because it meant she saw me, finally, for what I was never allowed to be. Not the broken girl in the back room. Not the jealous sister-in-law. Not the quiet leftover. But the legacy. That evening, Michael asked if I wanted to paint the front door a new color. I chose deep blue, the color of still water and hidden strength. He smiled. Dad would have liked that. I think, I replied, he planned it all. Maybe he did. Maybe he left that envelope not just to divide property, but to restore dignity. Maybe he knew that revenge wouldn't come from rage, but from recognition. Today I walk through this house and feel no weight. Only truth. Only peace. Only roots rediscovered. And as I sit here writing this, I realize something. Revenge isn't always a storm. Sometimes it's a sunrise.